tough guy. You know, I was 33. I'd been in the military, got out. Not those 9 months leading up to September 11th. I was at the bus terminal, so where you could be a real cop. You really dealt with a lot of things, gang members, unfortunately criminals. Never ever thought about it as a job. It was a dream of mine. It was never anything that I went to work fearing. My wife didn't fear it. I would come back with crazy stories that as a young macho guy, that's what you want, and then unfortunately you're hit with reality. I think that things, especially young men, I'll talk about young men that go into the military looking for war, and then war comes, and then you realize, this is something that you hope nobody else sees. And on 9/11, I thought, hey, man, I could save the world. And you realize you're a small speck in this world. What makes us strong is when we come together. And we lost so many people that gave their lives that day. And since then, because I would say 9/11 didn't end that day. It continued on through the GWOT war and so many airmen, Marines, sailors, Army, Coast Guards that we lost kept up that war. And really just trying to make our world a better place by fighting evil. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I tell people, people have always asked me, do you hate Muslims? And I said, I think the testament to me was my upbringing. My mom and dad always raised me to be a good human being. And I remember it was probably like 2 years after 9/11. I was still living in Clifton, New Jersey. And it's literally at the end of Clifton, where I lived, the next town over was Patterson. And that's where some of the hijackers were. So we have a large Muslim population. I remember going to pick up my daughter, Bianca, at the school. And as I was pulling up, there was a woman about to cross the driveway into the entrance of the school, and she was Muslim. And she had her Muslim attire on. And I had the right of way. I was going to make a left to pull into that driveway. And I saw her stop to look at me and I said, Will, for a second in me, I was like, fuck her. And then I realized that's not who I am.
Yeah.
And I can't be that. I can't be that hate, that evil. So I stopped the truck and I said, ma'am, go ahead. I let her walk by. And I said, I won't hate a particular group because of what a small group within them do, because that's not good advances in any way, shape, or form, in a good way. My mom always encouraged me. My parents came from Barranquilla, Colombia. I always tell people, if they don't know where Barranquilla is, where Shakira's from and Sofia Vergara, but they're the better version looking people than I am. But, they came here with the dream of every immigrant. And my mom told me, you know what? We're going to come here. We're going to remember our heritage. We're going to fly the American flag. We're going to learn English. But most importantly, we're going to get good people. And my mom always said, how with this country we deal with so much with minorities and racism and this. And my mom said, I don't want to hear about that. I want you to be raised as a person that's a good human being. That's how you represent our family. You represent our culture. And eventually, as an American, you're going to represent this country. And that's what, on that day, when I had to make that choice, was my upbringing. And I think today what we fail at is being able to do what we had time for back then. Right now, today, we have these that disrupt our lives all the time. But to be able to sit at the dinner table with your children, instill in them, know what's going on in their lives, and hammer it into their head about being a good human being, what that is.
Yeah.
And they were good examples. My dad was always just a good example of a hard worker. I don't want to hear excuses. You know what's right, what's wrong. My dad always told me, he goes, by 12 years old, if you don't know what's right or what's wrong, I fail as a parent. And he said, you know what's right or wrong. And it's hard to do the right thing. It is hard. On that day, there was a side of me because, I thought about my friends that I lost. But at the same time, I'll be like, my friends would, because they were all good guys. I could not, Christopher Amaroso, just who you portrayed in the movie, just a solid dude. Dominic Pizzullo, who gave his life up trying to get me in the sergeant out. Antonio Rodriguez, who switched spots with me before the buildings came down, just trying to be a good team member. I said, those guys would not be mean or be nasty towards someone because of what happened. And so I try to, instill in others what is